it is such a huge story. It has interweaving characters and plot lines. So you have the aging, slightly out of shape Night Owl 2, played by Patrick Wilson. Then there's the Silk Spectre, played by Malin Ackerman, I think her name is, who I actually thought was pretty weak in the movie.
I know she was in The Heartbreak Kid.
She's been, yeah.
She's got a beautiful face and some fantastic legs, but
she
acting
can't deliver a line
No.
except like Shatner.
There's a mother, Sally Jupiter, played by Carla Gugino, who was actually the original Silk Spectre when she was younger. And then we have Billy Crudup, who is mostly in the movie voiced only as Dr. Manhattan, who is the result of a molecular experiment. It got exploded.
He basically got like the Bruce Banner treatment.
Yeah.
The scientist who's in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And got his ass blowed up for fucking around, going there to get his watch. Should have just waited. Should have asked somebody. You notice he just walks in a room and people just like, oh, don't go there. He just walks in, shuts the door.
What cracked me up was like his girlfriend was also a physicist. I'm like, look at that girl. She ain't no goddamn physicist. She's as much a physicist as what's her name in the James Bond movie.
Oh yeah,
Denise Richards.
But she, but he gets trapped in this experiment, gets exploded, and then he brings himself back together again as Dr. Manhattan, who is pretty much a god, a big blue god.
Yeah, he's the genie from Aladdin.
Yeah,
well, he is God.
He should have been voiced by Robin Williams.
Yeah, he is. And ain't no lamp gonna fit that genie's junk, but. There's a smartest man in the world / corporate tycoon known as Adrian Veidt, also known as Ozymandias. But perhaps the two biggest characters in the movie are the immoral government yes man, the comedian whose bloodstained happy face logo has become the trademark of the books and now the movie. And of course, there's the borderline insane Rorschach, which is Jackie Earle Haley, and who I thought was great in this role. Who plays the comedian in this movie?
I've never seen that guy before. I didn't think he was
very
very
good.
good.
They looked for who looked the most like Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy is Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Right. And I've heard that name before.
And I don't know.
He's been attached to several projects, and he's worked before. So.
But if you ask me, Jackie Earle Haley works both in and out of the mask as Rorschach. Yeah. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan was really good.
I didn't think he was that good.
I thought he was. I thought he did a great job.
He captured it.
Yeah, and I thought that they did perfect casting with that. Pretty much all these people are great. And I'll tell you something else. The Dr. Manhattan, except for the girl. Except for the girl. I didn't think she was that good. But in the Dr. Manhattan special effect was actually really cool to me.
See, you know what? To me, it's indicative of a lot of what's going on with Zack Snyder is that there's absolutely no subtlety in any of this. So he's got those two special effects packages where everything blows into particles, and he reuses those over and over. And the Dr. Manhattan was just too glowy. It's like it was so distracting. Like with Rorschach's mask, the spot's supposed to change, but not to where they're always changing.
Yeah, that should have been
it's
limited.
distracting.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Rorschach. He people don't know Rorschach, and they don't go into it like they did in the book. They never explain about his mask, but he wears a certain cloth where it reacts to the heat on his face and makes a Rorschach pattern, which means it's symmetrical as it shifts around.
The thing I had a problem with Dr. Manhattan is all of the close-up shots looked incredible, and Dr. Manhattan was just fascinating to look at. But all the long shots, the things from a distance, he always looked fakey. Yeah, he blended in perfectly in the close-up shots, but the long-distance shots, you're like, dude, that looks so bad, he's not even there.
Well, that's because the close-up shots, they were actually using an actor and then put a sheen of CG over him to create that, and so it looked more real. What's the point with the backup shots? That's just more trouble than it's worth.
Right.
And it still looks fake anyway.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the effects all looked very effecty to me, and I thought the movie had some of the worst wigs and makeup I've seen in a long time. Like, Nicolas Cage's wigs would be going like, come on, y'all, that's bullshit.
No, it's funny why this movie's biggest strength and greatest weakness is technical. There's points that I thought it was gorgeous and it blew me away, and there are points I'm like, wow, that was embarrassing. You couldn't have done a better job than that.
Like the comedian's makeup?
Yeah,
like when
all
he was
the old age makeup is atrocious.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Back when Hal Hartley was doing fucking Mark Twain on stage in the 80s, it looked better than this.
No, what I found really embarrassing was all the scenes with the political figures. It was like they were trying to be Forrest Gump with like, hey, look, we got Kissinger. Oh, we got Nixon. Oh, we got Andy Warhol. It's like, enough already.
Yeah,
just go ahead and throw Forrest Gump in there.
If you notice, they even had like the photographer, some woman who did a lot of photography for Rolling Stone. They peppered
Annie
like
Leibovitz.
They had her in there.
There's a scene that had David Bowie and Mick Jagger in the background
together.
But that wasn't a lot of that in the comic.
It was. So
no,
I didn't have
no, not the
not that stuff.
no. No.
But the Nixon stuff was, but like
Sure.
the David Bowie stuff, that was not.
No, the
yeah.
his existence as president was there, but all those scenes with Nixon that are in this movie aren't.
But
in the
Nixon is in the book. But I'm talking about
Right,
like
he's
during
mentioned.
that credit sequence, because the whole credit sequence is a series of stuff that never happened in the book, and you have like David Bowie and Andy Warhol, and of course none of those appeared in the novel at all.
Right.
I guess I like the Dr. Manhattan effects because there's only really two. This movie in the beginning actually became kind of dull to me in the first half.
Sure.
The only time in that first half and later on, the only time I was really into it was when we got into Rorschach's story.
Yeah.
And when they did Dr. Manhattan. In fact, there's a whole section of Dr. Manhattan's origin, which to me is like a really cool short film.
You know what? I thought that too. As much as I was like not feeling the movie, when we got to that part, I'm like, great, they're going to screw this part up too. And I was like, you know what? Just this by itself, this segment is actually pretty cool.
You know why? Because the music.
The Philip Glass score they used for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that was the one time the music worked. To me, every other time the music was just like beat you over the head.
There's so many
Adrian-
moments in this movie where the music does not fit the movie because they try to crowbar music from the 80s, like 99 Luft Balloons. They try to do it. I'm Your Boogeyman from the 70s.
The worst was when they show Ozymandias and they're playing Everybody Wants to Rule the World in the background. I'm like, wow, did you have a baseball bat to knock me over the head
And
with
then
for
they
that?
have a score that just doesn't really work for this film sometimes. It sounds like Stevie Ray Vaughan or somebody in the background
Yeah.
playing. And it's like, this music is not working for me. It's killing the mood for these scenes. But that one scene, like you said, the Philip Glass store for Dr. Manhattan, I was like, this is a really brilliant short film right here.
Well, I agree and disagree. I felt like I liked that there were rock songs in this. I felt like they should have stuck to rock songs from that period of time rather than dancing around. Because at first I'm like, oh, cool, they're using 80s music. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait, why is Simon and Garfunkel in here?
Yeah. Oh, that's Steve with the Simon and Garfunkel. I laughed. I was like, this is corny.
How about when they have two scenes where they have a scene where Night Owl and Rorschach are going to see Ozymandias and they're playing All Along the Watchtower. It's like it just seems like I was like, wow, man, just doesn't fit.
Mostly it should have gone with an orchestral score, and it would have been better. Because you're right, the single best sequence in this movie is that flashback history, non-linearly told, which is one of the best things about it, is dancing around back and forth through the life of Dr. Manhattan with a great Philip Glass background.
Yeah.
That actually makes it kind of touching and moving,
Yeah.
you know? It's very affecting.
And that's the character that I actually found. All the characters in this movie, except for Rorschach, who's very complex. He's a psychopath, but you still feel for him in a way. And Dr. Manhattan is the one who's still trying to figure himself out, and you feel sorry for him because he's losing control of himself, and he can't relate to anybody.
Nations around the world still reeling from this morning's announcement, possibly the most significant event in recent history. We repeat, the Superman exists, and he is American.
They call me Dr. Manhattan. They explain the name has been chosen for the ominous associations it will raise in America's enemies. They are shaping me into something gaudy. Something lethal.
I found that the most compelling thing. And I felt sorry for him. I was almost brought to tears.
I did too. And I think, I didn't want to spend any time going like, well, this wasn't like the book. But I just will say, like, the one thing from the book that I also really liked was Night Owl too. Like his whole like coming into middle age, he giving everything up. He's just like a sad character, very sympathetic.
That here at all.
Yeah, I didn't feel that at all. I mean, as good as Patrick Wilson was, that didn't come across in the movie.
Well, that's one of the big both great points about this film and lackluster points. Is the great thing is that they do a really great job of making you feel for characters, especially characters that you didn't feel for in the book. When you get to the end and Veidt has laid out everything and explains what's going on, you really get Veidt, and you really understand him for who he is and what he was doing, and you get that emotion. It doesn't feel as clinical as it does in the book. But by the same token, what they trim out here and what they don't do is certain characters and certain plot lines get left behind. I talked to people who watched it and didn't understand that what was going on with the Night Owl was the fact that he had a fetish. and that fetish very much played into who he was and who he wanted to be. One of my biggest complaints about this film is that they took out the aspect of him being pot-bellied,
right?
Which was and his original costume.
They tried. Oh, in his costume. You're right.
In his costume in the comic, he's wearing one of those 70s era super cheesy spandex suits, and when he has the pot belly, he looks fucking ridiculous. And that was the point in The Watchmen, where every time he pulls that suit on, you're just like, dude, it's time to hang it up.
Yeah.
Here, he has that 90s looking Batman where you're almost looking for the nipples on the suit.
And Ozymandias had nipples on his
did have
suit.
that. And by the way, Matthew Good, British actor, is the guy who plays Ozymandias / Adrian Veidt. And a lot of people have been complaining about him, Veidt, whatever. And I know that he said that he tried. I don't have a problem with the actor. I thought he did an adequate job with it. But he tried to do something that I don't think worked. He went between two accents. That's done on purpose. A lot of people looking at this saying, he can't decide he can't hold an accent. He can't figure out what the fuck he wants. So lesson to actors out there, don't be flip